So the thing is, I'm not using my laptop much because I
Mm.
have like normal calls, and my desktop webcam is very bad.
Okay. You still look as stunning as always.
Bro, it's been very bad.
I think you're just fishing for compliments.
I mean, what's the other way I'll get a compliment anyways nowadays?
Oh, please. You've been building your own startup for the longest
Yeah,
time,
so
and now you're building something entirely new in the AI space.
yeah,
Why don't you talk about that? Why don't you talk about that startup you started building right out of
right.
Bain,
Yeah.
and
So I
then you talk about this new
so
thing you're
Bain I
doing.
worked for like 1 year. It was great as in the kind of analysis that we did with some things, apart from the data scraping part, the analysis that we did sometimes was amazing. And then you understand a lot about how big companies work, how you have to look into data sort of thing. But it didn't really excite me much on like the actual impact of it. And I was looking for something that I would be able to do by myself. So I was looking for like a couple of ideas during my time at Bain, and one of the ideas was hydroponics, and this was way back in 2017.
Yeah.
So it was like a very very new thing. Like normal people didn't even know about it. If you have never searched for it, you will not know it. It was the thing back then.
What
So
does hydroponics mean?
hydroponics, a lot of people uh, actually mispronounce it as hydroponics,
Hmm.
but it's hydroponics. So it's basically hydro is water, and ponics is like affinity towards it. So it's basically uh, agriculture without soil,
Right.
and what you do is soil basically is a substrate which is just holding things, right? Soil by itself has no nature or like energy or any minerals by itself. It holds minerals inside it, or it will hold water inside it, it will hold oxygen inside it, and it will give it to the plants. So that's what the basis of agriculture was.
Yeah.
uh, so in the last couple of decades, scientists which researched a lot, and then they figured out you can grow plants without soil also. You just need to replace soil with a neutral substance, um, which will hold oxygen, minerals, and water. So that's what hydroponics is. You just keep finding different things which can hold water, minerals, and oxygen, and
Right.
then you grow plants on it.
Hmm.
So hydroponics basically takes away soil, and the advantage over there was it 90% of your diseases that come in plants are soil borne, right? So you take away soil and all those diseases go away. But
So
obviously
how did you start building a company in this space? Like what exactly were you doing?
yeah, so I think I was just looking for that I forgot the name of that concept, but it's like the things that you can do, the things that the market wants, and the things which can actually make money. So I
Hmm.
was kind of trying to see all those three circles, what skills I have, and I realized I have done engineering, so I understand science, like basic concepts of science. So
Yeah.
it has to be somewhere based in science. The next one was I could do a lot of small tinkering stuff around, and I could build things by tinkering.
Yeah.
And that was one. Then the other thing was I was looking for problems. What are the current problems that we have? I think that's a very typical mindset when you start out early as a startup founder, right? You just try to find problems that you can solve. And I think the biggest problem I could see was agriculture, uh, because India is such an agriculture-based society. My grandfather was also a farmer, and I have spent a lot of time during my vacations as a child, uh, in summer vacations, just going in the farm and enjoying. So
Yeah.
I could understand farming also, concept wise, though it's not like I can do it, but I can understand the concepts of it. So I could figure out, okay, I can do science, I understand the agriculture part, and it's a very big problem to solve. So I was figuring out how to solve different problems in it, and hydroponics is something that I found then. Okay, there's
Right.
something to do, and a lot of European countries are doing it, and in fact, they're doing it commercially, right? So they are building like huge farms, and the farms are like huge. Like, actual cities are currently being fed by hydroponic uh, vegetables and fruits and
Really?
all. Yeah, because in Europe, the thing is you can't grow anything during the winter times, right?
Yeah,
You just
yeah.
have to import.
That's the biggest problem here. As someone who's used to having a lot of different kinds of veggies,
Yeah,
as soon as I get here, all I see are potatoes, onions, and
yeah, because in
maybe
winter,
brinjal.
potatoes are the only
That's all.
thing that grows during winters, right?
Yeah, I'm so fed up of not having the 20 different varieties of vegetables that we would normally see in India, anywhere you go.
Yeah, and in India, the thing is we are blessed with amazing climate, so
Yeah,
you can grow different vegetables across the year, right? In
yeah,
Europe, you can't do that, right? So they use hydroponics in Europe to create those indoor farms,
right.
like huge acres of farms covered in glasses, right? Greenhouse glasses and
And
stuff.
so what is the substrate in which you are growing if you're not using soil? How are you
There are
growing these
there are a
vegetables?
couple of substrates that you can use. The most common one is coconut coir, which is
Ah,
basically
okay.
outer shell of coconut.
Right,
They grind it down, then bake it so it's neutral and free of all bacteria or other things.
right,
And then they use it. That's very close to soil, but still, it is one of the it's not one of the best ones
right.
because there's a high chance of getting fungus through it.
Yeah,
Uh, so that's one. The other one, which is very commonly used commercially, is those there are small clay balls. So they use
right.
this balls. That's one of them. There's also a foam which comes. The foam is basically um, yeah, I think it's just kind of foam that I can say right now to explain it simply. But you basically put a small hole in it and you put a seed inside it, and
Right.
then the seed will grow within that foam.
Okay. So I would imagine it would have to be food grade, that type, like you couldn't
Yeah,
just
yeah,
use your mattress foam for that, right?
no, no, it's not. So that's what there's a scientific name to it, but it's very weird
Got
name.
it.
So yeah, so it's food grade. There are some issues with them being biodegradable or not, and some foam are, some are not. So yeah, there's a lot of research going on that front as well. But at least three or four basic types, in which one is like foam, one is like clay, one is coco coir. So you'll have a few of these varieties.
So you
So
started doing this in 2017. Was
yeah,
anyone in India trying to do something similar at that point?
yeah. So when I started my research, I could see that there are small farms here and there.
Yeah.
There was no big startup in India, though there were very very big startups in America and Europe. Some of
But
them
I
had
would imagine that would be very capital intensive work, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah. Both had raised a lot of funds, and one of them was, almost more than $500 million evaluation and stuff like that. So
but you
they were,
bootstrapped it completely.
so yeah. So what I did was, what I saw was happening in India was very different than what was there in Europe. So
Yeah.
initially, I was just trying to couple of months after quitting Bain. I took a few months to just understand why Indian market is different than Europe because I didn't want
Yeah.
to miss understanding of the market
Yeah.
because Europe was so way ahead. It was not just about costs that okay, this is expensive over there, this is cheap over here, so you're not doing it. That was not the case. I
Right.
think the big difference I found out was one, the supply chains are just not there in India. So when I started building out small experimental things at my home, I realized, okay, what, like, people over there are just ordering things over Amazon and building small farms at home, right?
Right.
I can't even forget Amazon. I'm trying to go through any marketplace website and I'm trying to call people and it just ends up not happening, right? They don't have it.
I
So
would imagine that now, but that's not a challenge now as much, is it? Because
yeah,
of hyper local delivery and the entire boom that happened, I think, in the last five
yeah.
years.
Yeah, so I
Right.
think 17, 18, 19 was the period when a lot of people started exploring it in small way.
Right.
And 20 was the time when everyone went on with hydroponics everywhere. And then even normal people understood, okay, people are growing vegetables on water, right?
Right.
So I think the big difference was also one, supply chain, and the other was the people who were doing it in India. They were mostly contractors, or
Right.
consultants who will just
Right.
come. Okay, you want to set up a farm? I'll come set up the farm. This is the cost. I'll help you do some technology transfer of how to do it. But then you have to go and do your own farming. And
Right.
I think 90% of the market back then was just consultants, and
Right.
that's what we got in India. Whereas abroad, there were different brands, there were startups doing it, and that was not the case in India. There were
Yeah.
two, three small startups, but they were not that scaled up. So I saw that space that you could probably create a brand in India is what I thought. But yeah, going ahead, I think my learnings over there were two. One was Indian market is dependent on Indian weather and climate and everything, right? So you can't just copy paste that tech, right? It's not like Facebook that okay, someone or probably TikTok is there, right? So TikTok ka Indian chingari aa gaya, so, right? You can just copy the tech and then do some changes and bring it out.
Yeah.
But with agri, you can't do that. It just doesn't happen, right? Because they are trying to fight cold weather, low sun availability across the day. Whereas you have extra sun, more heat, the problems are like upside down, right? So you
Yeah.
can't just bring it back and use it here. You have to like kind of figure out how what's the basis of it, of what they are doing, and then try to modify it, is what I understood. So I wanted to have a control on tech and not just become another farmer, because there was a huge chance that if you started something in 2018 around hydroponics, you'll just end up becoming a farmer, and that's not a startup, right? You can't just so you need around say 30 to 40 lakh rupees to set up a small indoor farm of around 200 to 300 square feet, right? So if you have that money, great, you can set that up. But then how do you scale up, right? You can't just keep setting up more and more farms with crores of rupees and then expect all of them to become profitable in 3 4 years. And it's not a scalable business. So
Right.
uh, what I figured was scalable, though, was the learnings of how to grow, right? So I wanted to do a startup which was not really a farmer startup, but the tech of hydroponics.
Right.
So suppose you have like a perfect recipe for growing mint or pudina, right?
Right.
You know exactly the temperatures across the growth cycles that are needed, uh, the kind of oxygen or carbon dioxide is required, the amount of light is required across the growth stages, right? You can keep altering that. The saplings require only like this much light, versus when it is full grown, you need like so much light. So you can keep optimizing it for highest growth. And once you have that perfect recipe, you can just have like a central farmer system and control multiple farms through it, right? And it can become a farmer as or farming as a service model. So that's what I was working on.
So, would it be like you build some sort of proprietary tech that you then sell to people that want to get into hydroponics? Was that your main idea?
Yeah, because setting up hydroponic farms, I realized like within 6 months is not the problem. You can just go to any consultant today,
Hmm.
just give them money, and within 6 7 months they will have your farm ready. That's
Right.
not the problem. Is one, running the farm afterwards.
Hmm.
Huge problem of actual usage of the farm, right? Your occupancy of the farm is probably around 30 to 40% initially, uh,
Right.
and you will struggle to do that, and then you would want to keep going ahead and push it beyond 60%, 70%, because the thing is it's very difficult to run a farm efficiently. So you have to make sure you have to uh, occupy maximum of your farm space, which is the vertical space in hydroponics.
Right.
um, and then you have to, so that will give you the maximum yield also.
All right. Uh, I imagine because it's India, it's not Europe, there would be so many challenges with, like, it's just sounds like such a grind that if you wanted to make this into a startup, you would have to go and convince thousands of farmers. who really don't have that much disposable income to sort of adopt
Yeah.
this technology. And then, I mean, the average person doesn't understand hydroponics.
Hmm.
I'm learning. I mean, you and I, we've been talking about your startup since the last 5 years,
Yeah.
and but to be honest, I only know about hydroponics because you have been working on in this field. I haven't heard about it from anywhere else. So it'd be such an uphill battle. I would imagine.
Yeah.
Was that the case for you?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I was so I put it across in different phases to, kind of keep away my problems at the start, because I didn't want to deal with farmers right away. Dealing with Indian farmers is a whole separate question than trying to build a new tech right now, right?
Yeah,
So in this, though I ended up somehow dealing with a lot of farmers afterwards, in another venture that I did, but
yeah,
here I was just trying to build the tech first, right? Because I realized if I don't have my own tech, my own recipe of growing, then there is no differentiation between any other consultant who is giving the same farm equipments to anyone else, right? So I thought I'll just build my own farm first, not for profitability of the farm, but to create that tech and the data behind it of what I'm doing, how I'm doing, what's giving me the best results. And based on that, I would raise the next round of funding and then try to create a team which will actually create that farming as a service. So the idea was to not go after small farmers, because they do farming in a very different way, and they are best at it, right? Nobody else can do that, and they can't do anything else. So
yeah,
tomorrow you go and tell them, don't do this, do it like this. They'll be like, no, but that's not how it works, and then it'll be a huge conflict, and then nothing will work, right?
yeah,
So they are used to a certain way of doing things, and that works for them in that small space, right? So
yeah.
uh, I didn't want to disturb that whole ecosystem. What I was looking for was, a lot of people in India, due to urbanization, a lot of people move to cities, but they are
Right,
connected to their villages. Now
right.
they have a lot of money with them, a lot of savings, and they have land also, which is like lying barren, right? And
Yeah,
they can't really go and do things. So what they do is they pay someone in the village, okay, you till the land, get whatever you get, just give me so many rupees, right? Like my own
yeah.
farm in my own village, um, like a couple of acres would probably yield you around a few thousand rupees only a month, right?
Right. Yeah, yeah. I know. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, that guy
Completely
is
agree.
going to do everything, and he's going to
Yeah,
take away all the rupees, and he's just going to give you some thousand rupees, couple of
yeah,
rupees a month, and you are happy with it because all you care is the land is not barren. It's
yeah,
living. That's all
yeah,
you want at this
yeah.
stage, not really profits. So a lot of these guys are now looking to go back and do something in agriculture, right? So
Mm-hmm.
my target was these people who have the capital or who have access to a capital, like they will be able to work with a bank.
Right.
So my idea was to probably in the future stages, once I have the tech ready and I can have a central brain which controls all farms, right? Then I
Right.
can go to all these people and be like, hey, the bank is here. The bank is ready to give you loan. Like, when you go buy a bike, the bank is right sitting there, right? He's like, yeah,
Yeah.
you go buy the bike. You don't have money. Don't worry. I'll give you the money,
Yeah.
right? Because one, there's a lot of subsidy on it through government.
Right.
Uh, Agriculture is zero tax income, so that's also a very big advantage. And
Yeah.
plus, you sort of get a part to profitability, because if I have the system ready of how to grow a vegetable, I'll also be giving a part to profitability, right? That you will have your returns of the money.
Yeah.
So that was the whole model I was trying to build for future, where someone with access to capital who has his own land.
Is that a particularly big market though in India?
Not really, not that big, but the thing is, agriculture is huge, right? So small percentage of it is also huge.
Yeah. All right.
So so you don't need to capture the whole market anyways, right?
Yeah.
Initially, you just need to get in and find some ways to get inside. Then
Right.
once if it works out, then you can just keep expanding into different things. So I didn't see that as a problem.
Right.
I didn't want to get into like, okay, I want to become a VC startup, I have to become a unicorn in few years. So it has to be so big, addressable market size has to be unicorn level.
Right.
Was my concern. My concern was, okay, I need to find like a small real problem which can be solved profitably. And this was actually it is profitable in a way.
Right.
Hydroponics is profitable in a way if you do it properly. Just the thing is scalability is the issue. So if you solve scalability with farming as a service, then I think it was the right mix to do it.
When you say scalability, you mean building a product that is more or less can be retrofitted across different farms, doesn't have to be customized a lot. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, yeah, less human intervention. Although
Right.
in India you have to bias towards human intervention than a machine intervention, because it's just cheaper, right? Economics
Yeah,
just work.
exactly. Yeah.
So have human intervention, but not a lot. So you assist the human a lot with data and tech, right? So that was the idea. Uh, and then you let that happen. And profitability, the thing is, the problem was in profitability was the market. What can you grow and what can you sell? Uh,
Right.
because the costs are so high at this stage, the market is very early, so
Yeah.
you cannot grow certain things which are high value. You can't grow your everyday vegetables right now in hydroponics. As in,
Yeah.
technically you can grow them, but you can't sell them. It'll be
Hmm.
very expensive. So
Mm.
once a lot of people start going for organic stuff, then they realize organic is not sustainable. So that's why a lot of people will start switching to hydroponics. Is how I envision will move out.
Okay. So what happened then with the startup? Why you eventually stopped working on it and joined another startup as
Yeah,
an
so
employee?
I spent 1 year on just getting hands-on with the tech behind it.
Yeah.
Uh, because like I said, I wanted to create a differentiation of how the farm works. So I was just
Yeah.
working on what inputs go in, how and why, and learning a lot of things. I built my first pilot farm after 1 year,
Yeah.
uh, and then I started growing things at small scale, and then starting to put things into a routine. I started working with a couple of cafes in Mumbai.
Yeah.
So I had the farm in RA colony,
Yeah.
uh, and RA is like in between city, like middle of the city,
Yeah.
middle of the suburbs, right?
Yeah.
And the rent is very low
Hmm.
because it's not that accessible, but it didn't matter to me, right? So for me, it was anyways better than going far away from city.
I remember you. I know you would travel like an hour each way in the local to go from home to
Yeah, so I
your
used to live
office.
in Grant Road, and my thing was in RA. So I would take a local train to Goregaon, then a local bus from Goregaon to RA. So it was around 1.5 hours, 1 hour journey, one way. So I would do that every day, and then try to
Yeah.
utilize that time in between also for doing different things.
Anyone who has traveled in Mumbai locals knows that it is a adventure sport in itself.
It is. You learn a lot. But yeah, so all these things actually push you to do your startup better, because you're like,
Yeah.
I don't want to do this for too long.
Yeah.
Like, just get out of this grind.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So
what
you
changed
were
was,
started getting local clients. What happened then?
yeah, so the restaurants and cafes were ready to work with me. They were very happy. I was growing microgreens at the start.
Right.
And the thing was, the pandemic hit in 2020,
Yeah.
right? And I had made a strategic decision just like 6 months, 7 months before it, when I could actually grow things. So I was like, let's see what I can grow.
Right.
And I realized B2B is a better way to go ahead, for me at least, because I didn't have a team, like a huge team, right? So I thought I'll go B2B, because one, you don't need to do marketing for B2B in agri-tech. You just need to like straight up go and talk.
Call up call up 10 people. Yeah.
Exactly. You don't need to spend on
Yeah.
social media and all of this,
Yeah.
make your creatives, spend time on it,
Yeah.
branding and all of this junjat. So you just move all of that out and just take out your bike, start going to each restaurant one by one, one by one. And that's
Yeah.
how I got my initial customers, right? I would just
Right.
take a pack of it, and I would go and like just take it, keep it in your fridge next to what you have right now, and see what happens after 2 days, 3 days, how fresh my produce is. And that's how I got the clients, right? Uh,
Was that generating any sort of revenue for you, or were you just handing it out for free?
Initially it was free, and then I started getting the money, and then that was like 2 weeks of getting revenues, and then the pandemic lockdown hit.
Oh, so as soon as you started earning, you got hit by the pandemic,
Yeah.
and then they just stopped ordering. Was that it?
So yeah, restaurants just stop altogether. My
And okay, assuming that in a world where COVID-19 doesn't come, how
Yeah.
much, like in terms of if you just project, that you kept going on that for a year, how much do
Hmm.
you think you might have earned from the entire experience, like project, like
I think
just with the local restaurants and cafes?
the revenue for revenues, the pilot was not meant for revenue. It was more on technology testing. But
Yeah,
still, I would say the market that I was aiming for, the microgreens market initially, I would easily probably have like a couple of a lakh rupees or more revenue per month.
that's no joke. That's pretty commendable because I
Yeah,
remember you talking about how you came to microgreens because it's such a niche product and
yeah,
it can be easily grown with hydroponics, and it
yeah.
is kind of expensive, I believe.
It is
Or
very
and
expensive.
but and so it's exactly like you were saying earlier. If there's a Venn diagram of what can you make, what gets you decent revenue, and what is something that is in high demand
Yeah.
for that target market,
So
it
I
must
took
be
the idea of
perfect.
Tesla, right? So what
Yeah,
Tesla did for
yeah,
automotives was I
yeah,
realized farming is very much like automotives. It's an old industry,
yeah,
commoditized completely, and the prices don't move at all. So you can't
yeah,
enter as a new guy and be like this is the price, right? So when you get in, only time you can command the price is when you are working at a premium level,
yeah,
where the competition is not really commoditized. It's more about the quality of it and other things that you give. So that's why I got into microgreens, because it's very premium product. The price is very high, and the biggest advantage was the growth cycle of a microgreens is like 7 to 14 days, depends on what microgreen it is. And whereas for any other vegetable, like a whole grown vegetable, is like at least a month, right?
yeah.
And that was the biggest mistake, and that's what took me 1 year from the time I started doing my own tests to actually setting up a farm,
Right.
because the learning cycle is dependent on biology. You can't change it, right? So
Yeah.
you run your experiments. I'll try to hedge my experiments in different ways and try to do as many variations I can at a go in controlled conditions. But if I'm doing three things, right, I only after a month I would know which one is working, or if all the three are not. And that was the case. Like a whole year, I was just failing, right? Like
Mm.
imagine trying to grow a microgreen, right, and
Yeah.
failing at it like 6 months, 7 months.
But
Uh,
you were basically trying to build up that expertise that the consultants that you mentioned have, right? That help you set up
so
hydroponic farms.
no, so I didn't take any help from anyone. I
I'm
only,
no, I'm saying that the kind of expertise that they would have
yeah.
is what you were developing on your own by doing all these experiments.
Right.
Is that
So
right?
I started with what they would do to grow microgreens.
Yeah.
And within a few months, I realized that was not the optimum way to do it, probably. And I built my own way of growing microgreens without coco coir or without any substrate at all.
Right.
And I built that in like 6 months of experiments. So it brought me to the most optimum way of growing microgreens.
Right.
Uh, that was crazy, like the way it grew, and the yields were amazing. So the margins were huge. So I could actually sell it like double the cost of what it took me to grow it.
Right.
And that's huge margin. So like if I'm growing it at like 30-40 rupees, I could sell it at 80-100 rupees easily. uh, and that is including a lot of costs at the back.
Right.
um,
Right.
so so I could see profitability in it, and the way to go it. But the thing was, microgreens is, it's like a plateau, right? You go up and then it's like flat. Like how many people are just going to eat microgreens anyways? So it's not like a
It's a
huge
limited
market,
market. Yeah.
very limited market. But the idea was to get a foot inside, and my idea was to get a foot inside the fridge of the chef, right, of the restaurant. I just wanted to have one product in his shelf. uh, And once I have that product in his shelf, and I can go to the investors and be like, hey, these are the restaurants who can vouch for my quality, the way I grow them, the tech that I have, which no one else has. I need funds to now set up a bigger team, which will use what I'm doing right now to create like a farming brain, right? Which can centrally control farms the way
Yeah.
I'm doing right. And with that, I can then go on and create farms using some other people who other farmers who will join me, right? I didn't want to go and build my own farms right away. The idea was to have other people come in, farmers come in, uh, pay for the farms using the bank's money, and then I would grow inside it using the tech that I have, and then we would do revenue share on that, and then I would sell all of that produce together because I knew the markets and I knew the chef and I knew the hotels. And then once I have the one product inside the fridge, I'll be like, okay, this is the next product that I have. Why don't you try this? Why don't you try this? And slowly I would start building up a lot of things inside the fridge.
Why didn't you restart after the pandemic?
So the thing was, in pandemic, the supply chains were just off. I didn't raise funds before it. So
Yeah.
I was completely bootstrapped. No, like no single source of funds. And
Yeah.
I was in talks with an investor back then.
Yeah.
Very excited. So even though restaurants and cafes shut down, a lot of friends, a lot of family people just called up during the pandemic and they were like, hey, you're growing some things in your farm, right? Why don't you give us vegetables? We'll pay you. And I was like, okay, this didn't happen before. Uh, but okay. The thing is now people are asking for my vegetables, but I can't grow it because my seed
Because
supply,
of, yeah. Okay.
my nutrient suppliers, seeds came from Chandigarh, the cocoa coir came from Tamil Nadu and
Right.
Karnataka.
Right.
And they were like, sir, हमारे पास पड़ा हुआ है, but we can't send it. The logistics are off. And we didn't know, like for a whole month, I waited for things to come out. But we got into the second lockdown then, and things just
Yeah.
looked. And then I was like, how long can I keep this going? I couldn't see the future of or any certainty in it. So the biggest problem that I had was up till now it took me 2 years to come out of a pilot zone.
Yeah.
So I don't know how much more time would be required in normal conditions to make it successful. Like the chances of it becoming big the way I was thinking were very small. And if you add the uncertainties of lockdown to it, I was like, this is a bet I don't want to take. So I'd rather think of something else. And
Right.
one way was, okay, to make it survive, to float it. I could raise funds right now because a lot of people are interested in it, in agri-tech, and I can do a pivot to B2C, right? That was one way. But the thing is, at the same time, I got an opportunity from Mapro in Maharashtra. So Mapro is a very big legendary brand in West India.
Right.
So the opportunity over there was very big as well, and the learnings were equally big as doing your own startup. So it was an entrepreneur in residence kind of a role. So then I was just like weighing it out, and I thought it's best to not take risks at this time.
But that idea still seems to be so viable, what you were doing. And you were so right in saying that, you have to build for India. And the problem, like you said, is that in India, there is such a severe problem of supply chain.
Yeah,
Um, but so I'm not, I mean, this is my uneducated opinion, but from whatever you are telling me, it seems like there was an opportunity to build it up into, if not a big, startup, at least something that gives you a decent side income that you could
yeah.
live off of very comfortably, and you could
So today
maybe like
there are a lot of people doing it.
that's yeah. And so if you're earning like, let's say, 4 lakhs a month just from doing this, and it's
Yeah,
like, let's say,
they're
two
doing
man
the
operation, 3 man
IT job.
operation,
Yeah. Yeah,
it's
definitely better. Yeah. So there are a lot of people. So
amazing.
you keep finding these articles, right? Someone is growing so many tomatoes on his terrace. Someone is growing vegetables
Dude,
on his.
if you wanted to start this up again, what would it take you to start this up again?
To start this, I don't know. I'll require, the first thing I would need is a very good team. That's what I lacked back then, right? That's why I could move so slowly, because I didn't have a good co-founding team.
No, because from whatever you are telling me, it sounds like you developed some proprietary tech. And now tech, when I say technology, I don't mean, hardware. I mean a way of doing something, which
Yeah,
was only obvious after you did a lot of experiments, spent a lot of time, right? And so that is a clear distinctive advantage, isn't it? If
yeah, it
you,
is. But I think the thing is, it's been 2 years now.
yeah,
So other startups who were funded back then, so anyone who raised funds before pandemic and was doing hydroponics, there were a couple of them. They just had like a golden period, right? Because they had funds in the bank.
yeah,
They just waited out the 3-4 months of
the
supply
lockdowns,
issues. Once that was solved, the roads were working again, trains were working
right?
again. Then it was just a golden period for these guys, right? So I think a lot of them tried to solve the problem that I could solve with my approach in a different way, obviously. But yeah, so some of them are doing amazing work now. So the thing is now it's 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 not that nascent as it was before. So obviously it's not as enticing to me as it was before. Plus there are people are doing amazing work. I can still get into it, but it'll require like a very good team, because the things that I have in mind to execute for it would not be possible with people who are just figuring it out.
But it still seems like a very,
It is a
very
good
exciting
opportunity
idea.
if
It's,
someone. So there are two opportunities, right? One, if you just are so tired of your IT job, which pays you like 3-4 lakhs, maximum 5 lakh rupees a year, and you understand science very well, you are okay with living away from city life, and you have like a home in your tier two, tier three town. This is the best time, best thing you can do. Just go back and start doing hydroponics, learn it, uh, probably learn it before you quit your job, so you can do it, and then start a farm, and then start selling it. The biggest problem is not growing it, the biggest problem is also selling it. uh, like if you set up the occupancies for your farm at 60%, right, then you'll have so much produce coming out every other week that you planned, right? So this week probably 10% of the farm is going to be harvested. So every week, if 10% of the farm is coming out, you need to have your market linkages ready, and that's the biggest problem. Otherwise, you're just wasting money, right? It's huge loss.
yeah,
So
I get what you mean.
people
Yeah,
can do that. A lot of people are doing it. And the other opportunities, obviously, if you are good at building a brand, then I think you can get into hydroponics, where you don't grow it, but just buy it from people who are doing it, all the small farmers who are doing it, because consultants are going crazy out there and building farms where there is no need, right? Like the person may not even actually do hydroponics, they will go and sell it to him, right? So
yeah,
की मुर्गी है वो ऐसे, they will sell it, right? It's
right,
like it will give you golden eggs. So you
right.
just do a hydroponic farm and then it will work by itself. It will give you great returns and people are just buying it for no reason. So you can probably work with them, try to buy their produce and then create your own linkages and create an amazing brand out of it.
Yeah,
That's also one way to do it.
all right. It sounds like such an interesting problem.
Yeah.
But it also sounds like wrong timing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you're just a bit too early, a little bit out of funds.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it could have been a different story. But it's still such a great problem that you recognize, because nobody really thinks of agri-tech really. Very
Mm-hmm.
few people tend to think of, how can, like, agri-tech is not a sexy industry. And
It
so
is
you
not.
don't see a lot of
So
innovation
when
there.
we
But
was in our school, when I was in ninth or tenth,
yeah,
the last classes in school, there
yeah,
was a huge chart in our class which was made, and
yeah,
out who does, like, what do you want to become in future, right?
yeah,
And then people were writing that the names were already there. You have to go write what you want to do,
yeah,
and I saw a lot of things, and then what came to my mind was I'll become a farmer, and I
yeah,
wrote farm on that chart, right? And it was very funny because a lot of people were making fun of it. The
yeah,
teacher, hey, why do you write this?
yeah.
And I think as
Because
a
in India, it's like, why will an educated man be a farmer?
Yeah.
It's
And
what they tell you that, if you don't study, you'll have to become a farmer one day.
exactly. This is what you do after you fail, right? That's the last thing you do. And for me, it was just that, I had seen my grandfather toiling the soil so much. And I used to love nature as a kid.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
somehow I was always connected to it. And I think that's why later on it kind of became like, okay, I understand tech, I understand business. Why not try solve it?
All right. But I always think that, I mean, I've been hearing this a lot on this other podcast that I really love. It's called My First Million. And then the guy in that podcast, he says that, an entrepreneur, when he was talking about his investment ideology, he says, I bet on entrepreneurs. He says, I don't think of whether this guy is a good entrepreneur or a bad one. I think of whether he has a great idea or a bad idea. He says a
Hmm.
good entrepreneur might have a shitty idea. It may be their shitty idea that they have to work through. And
Yeah.
then their next idea or their fifth idea will be good, and that will make money. So he says, then as soon as I know that he is a good bet, this person is a good bet, then I'll be like, I'll invest in their shitty idea as well. So it's,
Yeah.
you had to get that out of your system, get the learnings in, um, and then, go on your journey, and then land up in whatever you're doing now. So I think it just speaks a lot to your character and your entrepreneurial nature, because so many people just would have stuck in vain and not gone out, and did something despite the fact that they really wanted to.
Yeah, I love how, a lot of us would, sit together afterwards and be like, I need to quit this. I need to do something real. And then a lot of people just stayed back after that, right? And
Yeah,
Bain was so good at laying out those goodies across the year to retain you, right?
but that's any big company really,
Yeah, yeah.
and that's such a typical like human nature thing
It
that
takes like a
yeah.
lot of push from within to actually quit that comfort
Yeah,
zone.
and then but then once you go out, then you realize it wasn't such a big deal. It's just that initial first step of leaving
Yeah,
that's so
yeah.
hard.
Losing that safety net is the biggest problem, right?
Yeah, it's just such a mental thing though. I mean,
Yeah,
I have lived on one-fourth the salary that I've earned at Bain, and I've been completely fine.
yeah,
I have like I have earned as much as I was earning in Bain just by doing online projects, and it didn't make any difference on my life. As long as my rent is taken care of, I have food on my plate, clothes on my back. What else
yeah.
do you need, right? Um, I feel like we fell into a hydroponics rabbit hole and didn't even discuss the main thing that I wanted to discuss with you, which is your current startup. You're building something really.
Yeah.
Now you're in a sexy industry. You're building something in generative AI
It's a yeah,
with your brother, right? With your cousin
yeah.
brother
With my cousin brother and his friend.
and his
Um,
friend, who are both engineers, right?
yeah, they're both like complete engineers. They are AI engineers,
Oh yeah,
and
yeah, yeah. They've been
so
doing like self-driving, autonomous
yeah.
driving
So
tech
my
over the last
cousin,
10 years or
yes,
so,
he's
right?
been working on a lot of autonomous driving projects and companies, startups. He's also helped big giants in setting up their own of teams for it, and a lot of work has gone into it for a few years. So he's quite into the space of AI, right? And same with his friend Kuba. And we have
So
been discussing a lot of different ideas since like mid-year mid this year.
yeah,
Uh, that's when I think the whole rage came out, right? A lot of different stable diffusion had come out, and
yeah,
then Dali was a thing, Mid Journey was a thing, and people were just experimenting and putting out things. AI art suddenly blew up, and then everyone was crazy after it, right? And that's where we were trying to understand, okay, this is great for hobby, right? Or not just hobbies also, but probably it's great like a gimmick.
right.
But what about actual applications of it? How can we use generative AI for images or visuals, images and videos, but use that to solve a actual commercial problem, which will add value to the company using it, and also become a scalable business model in future. So
Yeah,
that's where we were trying to figure out. And initial ideas were crazy. Like we were like let's What if there was a portal where you have amazing ideas or stories of, probably cartoon characters, right? Um, so you want to build your own cartoon or a comic book. You have an amazing story in your mind, but you
Yeah.
can't do it just because you can't draw it, right?
So hang on. Before you go into that, what exactly are you doing right now? What's your startup?
So right now, the startup is called Creativz.ai,
Right.
and we are building a platform which will basically do amazing product photo shoots of products for D2C brands or probably any FMCG brand. So anyone who has like a real product, uh, we would be creating a platform for them to do an amazing photo shoot of their product without doing a photo shoot, right?
So I'm a Amazon seller and I want to sell a water bottle. I
Hmm.
will upload 4 photographs of that water bottle to your portal, and you will generate images like, there's a model who's running with the bottle. There's someone sipping the water on top of a mountain and stuff like that.
Yeah, so this is exactly what we want to build, and this is possible probably down 6 months down the line.
Right.
Uh, and right now we are trying to build like the first version of it, right?
Okay.
And so I was just actually working on the website for it since last night, and the first version that's coming out is also amazing. Like, sometimes the results are so good, like you just sit there, and you're like, okay, is this real?
I know
So
you've shown me a couple of photographs. I was blown
yeah.
away.
So the first version will be about hero shots for the products. Uh,
Tell me, this is basically built on top of which engine,
so uh, I think primarily stable diffusion.
right?
So I think stable diffusion is a great balanced out engine, or you can say data set, or also uh,
Can you just explain for a complete beginner what exactly do you mean by stable? What is stable diffusion?
I mean that's the name they've given to it. But basically, what you have is a bunch of companies, right? The Stable
No,
Diffusion, Midjourney.
because what I mean is that there are so many different startups that are doing different use cases of, I will put in a text prompt and you generate a photograph for me. And so
Yeah,
there are thousands of different use cases for that. And they are
exactly.
all built on top of stable diffusion. But I'm not sure I completely understand what that means. So what exactly is stable
Yeah.
diffusion?
So I'll tell you that. So there are layers in generative AI tech, right?
Yeah,
So, so like Stable Diffusion, there's Midjourney also. Uh,
right. Yeah.
like all of both of these, there are a couple of them actually, and then there is also
Is DALI
like,
also a different
yeah,
one, just
DALL-E,
like
Stable
stable
Diffusion,
diffusion?
Midjourney. There's
Yeah.
also Google has its own model as well, but
Right.
it's not you can't access it. They
Hmm.
use it. We don't even know how good that is.
Yeah.
That one is, right. So everyone is waiting for them to give the access out for
Yeah.
someday. But yeah, so a lot of people probably have it in house and we don't even know about it. So
Right.
the thing is, all of these are just models, right? And what they do is they have taken a lot of data, put it in their servers, right? And built algorithms to understand images, the patterns of pixels on those images, right?
Right.
So you can say probably to draw a rough correlation or corollary to it, it's like you are a small child, right? I'll show you probably 100 different paintings of a mountain and a river.
Yeah.
This is a mountain, this is a river, this is how it is drawn here, this is how it is drawn here. You will try to learn it and then you will draw it by yourself.
Right. Yeah.
And that's how you will learn, right? So it's something similar that they are doing, but it doesn't work exactly the same way. The process is different. So they are creating these machine learning algorithms, and they're using huge data sets, right? It's like TBs and TBs of data, huge data,
Yeah.
and there are different photos inside it which are classified into different things. So the AI will understand, okay, what is river, what is ocean, what is a beach, what is a sand, from going through all those images, and it will build basically patterns of pixels in its own algorithm, right? So what it knows is if someone says sand,
Hmm.
then probably this is the pattern of pixels that has to come out.
Right.
So it will build pixel by pixel next to it, right? So it knows if this pixel is here, then what is the probability of the pixel that comes to the right is this, and then what's the next, and then what's the next. So it's building everything mathematically in a algorithm wise. So
Got
that's
it.
how these models work, and they have given out APIs now,
Hmm.
so you can access those APIs, and you can use those models to create things. Now
Right.
you can also fine tune those models to according to what you want. So you'll have probably, you have seen like a startup. So yeah, the base layer was these stable
and
diffusion models.
and the so this is what basically is a neural net that you are
Yeah,
feeding. Is that what it is, that you're basically feeding in tons of data, and then so it gets a lot of input, and
yeah,
then you don't really know what the output is going to be like?
yeah.
That
You
is
don't.
how. So
Yeah.
then you get an output, and then you tell it, okay, this was good or this was bad, and then it feeds into that feedback loop, and that's how
If
it gets
you give
better
it like,
iteratively over time, right?
yeah, if you give it like 20 images, you would probably know what's the output going to be like, because
Yeah.
they're similar to those 20 images.
Yeah.
Once you give it 20 TB of images,
Yeah.
that's a different ball
Then,
game, right? You can't predict.
and
Uh,
that's why they call it generative AI, because it's recombining all of that data into really novel and creative. Like what we call creative is just, like a algorithm that is
yeah,
working in ways that we will not understand
Right?
because there's such a
It's
big data
more
set.
close to actual intelligence. It's
Yeah.
still very mathematical, very algorithmical. But still, just with that, it's
Still
amazing,
so
right?
much. I
Yeah,
played around with with stable diffusion.
yeah.
uh no, not stable diffusion. What's the one that's on Discord?
It's mid journey.
I played around with Mid Journey. It was so crazy. Yeah, I just put in some random prompts, and it gave such great images.
Yeah. So what you can do is probably, so all these different models are trained differently. So stable diffusion has a different output. Mid journey has
Yeah,
a different kind of output,
yeah,
and people have kind of taken stable diffusion. If like you can take stable diffusion 2.1, which is out now, so you can
yeah,
take that, and then you can have your own fine tuning on top of it, right? So there's a base layer of all these neural network models, and then you can have your own startups on top of it, which is like someone creating an app for your own avatar, right? So you just take your own picture, and then that app will create your avatar in whatever style that you want. Like, you want to become an astronaut, you want to look like probably a tribal guy,
yeah.
uh, things like that. So it will just create it for you. And how it knows is it has the base thing of stable diffusion, plus they have fine tuned it for avatars, right? So they have, on top of that, they have told it that, hey, this is the kind of style that we want in our pictures, and that's what they create.
So
So
how exactly do you provide value as a startup that is building on top of, like, there are 20,000 startups building on top of stable diffusion.
right.
So
So I
what do
think
you
the
do
biggest
different?
the biggest thing uh, that we are doing differently right now is the kind of problems that we are solving. uh, we are not going after trends right now, of just people using it like a tool, right?
Yeah.
uh, there's a
No,
difference.
I mean, how do you make it so, like today, if I went into stable diffusion, it
Hmm,
wouldn't allow me to generate the, like, what you are doing with your startup,
yeah.
building product images that I can just upload to Amazon. I don't need to do a photo shoot. So
Yeah.
stable diffusion doesn't allow me to do that. So then,
So
what kind of work do you need to do to build on top of that to be able to do what you're doing?
So what stable diffusion that you access is like the front end
Yeah.
given by stable diffusion, which is
Right.
very primitive, right? It's
Right.
it's easy to use, but if you are actually an AI engineer, then you can access the APIs and then use it the way you want.
Right.
So stable diffusion does allow you, but it's not for everyone, right?
Right.
It will give you those APIs, and then you can probably use it to do what we are doing. But also the thing is, what we are trying to solve is not just the AI part of it, but also the business problem that we are going to solve, right?
Right.
Because the thing is, photo shoots is a very big problem. Um, Talking to so many
It,
founders right now.
I can tell you, I have uploaded multiple products on Amazon.
Yeah,
It is such a pain to take the right kind of photographs. Amazon half of the time will tell you that this is not in the right size or doesn't have the right kind of background.
mm,
You have to chalk out at least half a day if you're doing it by yourself and if
yeah.
you're
So
not used to it,
there are AI startups already who have like hundreds of employees right now based out
right?
of India who are doing this for automotive industry.
Right?
So basically what they do is uh, there are a lot of these apps across the world now for second-hand selling of cars. And
Right?
the problem they identified was if you click a picture of your own car, it's probably going to be with a smartphone, right? And the person is not going to click amazing pictures. And there's going to be a lot of reflections on it, bad lighting, and a lot of different things. What
Yeah.
they do is they take those pictures, they have given APIs to these startups, other startups, and then within the app, once you take a picture of your car, it will process the car's image, take away the background and everything, put it on a showroom like platform, uh, remove all the reflections from the car, window and everything, and kind of create a uniform texture on top of it. So
Yeah.
it will not falsify or create false advertisement of the car, but at the same time, it will be like you have actually gone and done a photo shoot with all the
Right.
reflective cameras and all the curtains and everything.
Yeah.
So that's what they are doing, and this has been happening since months already. So it's just that generative AI is new. Uh,
Yeah.
AI startups are already there, but generative AI is new. So we tried to identify, okay, photo shoots is a big problem. So far, there were only tools, right? You have tools to probably erase something, to probably upscale your image, things like that. And what we saw was you can't really have like a scalable startup with just tools, right?
Right.
To have a business problem which you solve, it has to become a platform, right? Not a tool.
Yeah.
And the platform has to be so easy to use that anybody can get on it, put their product picture, and then ask the AI to create probably some kind of idea that they have already, right? They
Yeah.
brainstorm within their creative teams, and they can tell the AI, okay, I want an image like this, and then
Yeah.
it creates the. I think if you have worked with stable diffusion, you'll probably understand that stable diffusion requires a lot of prompts, right? And the prompts are very technical. So once you start, there are actually courses to just learn prompts where you basically
I
you set
know, I know, I know.
task.
I started realizing because ChatGPT requires so many different types of prompts to get,
Yeah,
the kind of answer you want. And it's getting, I like, they have already released a couple of updates in the last month, and it's getting smarter at a very
right.
fast rate. But like I know that there are courses with just,
So
how to make the right prompts.
what we envision is, there'll be new roles coming up in startups and companies, at least whoever deals with media. Uh,
Yeah.
Probably we are calling it an image composer, right? So basically just a guy who will be sitting around putting in all those prompts and then out of them, right? Because
Yeah.
it's a knack, right? It's like you spend the platform that we are coming out with also.
It's
If you
it's
sit
kind
down
of like knowing how to do research on Google
on Google,
in an
yeah.
efficient way.
Yeah. So yes, generative AI is something similar, right? The AI has its own algorithm, and sort of after you work on it for like a few days, a week or 2 weeks, and you will sort of understand, okay, this is what AI understands. If I put it like this, okay, probably this is the kind of output I'll get.
Yeah.
And after like a week or 2 weeks, you are like on it, right? So someone tells you, okay, I want probably, so we have a backpack startup that we are working with right now. Um and I wanted to create an image in which it is sitting on a stone pavement in Athens with
Right.
Acropolis in the background,
Right.
and I could create it very easily, like in a couple of minutes, right?
Right.
And but that took me a couple of minutes only because I knew what prompts to put in, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
you will go in and you will type a couple of things first, and then you will realize, okay, it's understanding it in a very literal sense, right? And a lot of times you will
Yeah.
understand that, okay, if I say this sitting on this, there are multiple ways of understanding this that sentence, right? You
Yeah.
have a perception of this is what I want, but actually there are multiple ways of understanding it. So generative AI just kind of understands it in multiple ways and then give out different options to you.
Is there any way to make it easier, the platform that you are building?
Yeah, that's what we are doing.
Will you
We
be
don't
able to
want
make it
like,
easier? Yeah.
yeah, we don't want people to sit and type like 3-4 lines of prompts, right? What we are building is a platform where people will tell the idea. You will have to still be very detailed in what image you want, but not worry about other technical stuff within it, right? So that's what the platform that we are working on. But
Yeah.
also with ChatGPT and other uh, text to text kind of AI coming up, I think that will also help in generative AI for images.
Right.
So we can fill that gap between a noob operating a stable diffusion and what machines want to know, right? You just
Yeah.
have to figure out in between what your customers want, right? Like we know, so that's why we were like, let's just find the niche and like the smallest niche possible, right? We don't want to create for everyone. The thing problem with generative AI is it's for everyone. That's the biggest problem right now. So you don't get commercial results with that. We were like,
Yeah.
just let's focus down products. Okay, so if products is something that we want to go after for photo shoot, what kind of products? And then we were like, okay, there are hundreds of different categories within products. We'll go after uh, personal care, fashion products, or home living and decor kind of products, right? So couple of 2-3 categories that we chose, and even within that we are trying to find out what size of company can we can work with. So we are trying to go and really target it down, right? We are not looking for a huge market to target right now, because
Yeah.
that just doesn't work, and we see startups are going to fail anyways in the new market.
Yeah.
So we are trying to go really deep, so that the advantage we get is we know now what output would these people want, right? So we can work in a way where we can fill in that gap of them asking for basic things and us telling the machine exactly what to make, right?
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
there's a lot to work on it. I mean,
When do you think you might launch?
we will we will launch the first version of the platform uh, in a couple of days. uh,
All right. Can I
yeah.
try it out once it's
Yeah,
launched?
yeah, probably I can give you like early access to it, and you can do it, no worries. So uh, in fact,
Here, dude, I'm going to check it out, and
after this is
I will
over, I
cover.
will show you some things.
Cool. And when you launch it, what I'll do is I'll cover it on my newsletter, and
Hmm.
I actually credit it to you. Last month, no, 2 months ago, we started talking about your startup, and
Yeah,
you inspired me to start learning more about AI. So I
yeah,
started
I love
reading.
your newsletters.
Sorry.
I love your newsletters.
Oh, yeah, it's all because of you, because you started talking about AI, and then I got interested. I started reading more about it, and then Chat GPT came out, and it
Yeah,
was like world changing, right? I
yeah,
said,
yeah,
it's I need to do something in this industry, because this is going to be clearly the most world defining change that's going to happen, and that'll define the rest of the century, really. And
yeah.
so that's why I really started Tools of AI, the newsletter, and I would love to cover this, because it really started with you.
That's amazing. But this is very interesting. It's amazing. Like it's so much fun to use these tools, right? Uh,
I
like,
know,
when was
it
the last time
feels like
you
a new toy.
experiment? Yeah,
I don't know. I've been using ChatGPT for a month. It feels like I have a new toy.
yeah.
The other day, I went to Stonehenge and Bath on a
Hmm.
little trip, and I used ChatGPT as a tour guide. Okay, I'm in this. I was in Bath Abbey, and I wanted to know about the history, and I could have gone on to Wikipedia and read about it, and which
Yeah,
I did. But then 5 minutes later, I realized, why am I doing this? I went on ChatGPT, just typed in, "Tell me
yeah,
about Bath Abbey," and it gave me, 2 paragraph summary, and that's all I needed to read. It was
yeah.
so cool. I did it throughout the trip.
We have another startup idea. You can start a travel guide using AI.
Dude, I have a few ideas that I wanted to pitch you,
Yeah,
like AI startup ideas. Yeah, and you
tell
can
me.
tell me, and these are just like I wrote them 5 minutes before we started this call. But
Hmm.
so you can tell me if they're shit or if they're good.
Yeah,
All right. So here's the first one, okay? And I think you spoke about this, and I have no. So take these with a pinch of salt because I don't know what the industry is like or what companies are doing this, whether
yeah.
someone is doing this or not. All right. So the first one is so like you're making images for product images for like Amazon sellers or e-commerce sellers.
Hmm.
I know that there are a lot of people make make custom images for inorganic media or like ads, social
Hmm.
media. You have to do a lot of testing to see, all right, does this image work better than the other one?
Yeah.
Like Netflix has engineers, scores of engineers that are just doing thumbnail optimization to see, which
Thumbnail
thumbnail
works
makes
best.
someone click YouTube. And so, you have all of these loosely integrated use cases that are quite
Yeah.
similar to each other. So what if your AI startup built a engine which recommends to you, all right, like this podcast that we're shooting, I just
Hmm.
put I just put a link to this. It analyzes the entire thing. It
Hmm.
and then it says, all right, this is the best thumbnail that you can make out of it. Or it doesn't have to be that sophisticated to start with. It can just be, if I'm making a ad for my product, a
Yeah.
Facebook ad, it asks me to upload a product, an image for the ad. What if
Hmm.
just by based on the copy or based on the thumbnail I have made, the tool just improves on that, makes
Yeah.
it a better thumbnail, and it can be it'll probably have way better results because it has access to 20,000 data points of ads, similar ads that have worked, and so it can
Yeah.
come up
I
with
think.
something
Yeah.
completely new.
I think it's a very good idea. One second. So any idea where a lot of big money is being pumped anyways, you have great potential
Exactly.
for AI, because AI is about optimization, right?
Yeah.
It's to save you money. So that's right. The base of the idea. It's nice, but also you'll have to figure out probably how to get really understand the ad industry for that specific use case, right? So that's something that you'll have to build, and then if you have that built where the algorithm really works, and you can actually show it that, hey, our thumbnails have so much x better retention, or clicks, or any metric that is required for ads, it's going to be big. I
It
think there are
seems
people
like
out there.
it seems like something that people would probably be doing because it's too big a problem for
Yes.
someone to
So
ignore.
So thumbnail generators are already a startups, right? Because
Yeah,
thumbnail is a huge business in YouTube world, right? Because
yeah,
so many people make videos and they can't make thumbnails which are catchy.
yeah.
So that is already a startup space to just create thumbnails. And I think a logical expansion for a lot of them would be to start using AI and offer a new AI generated thumbnails, right? So I think that's where it can be, or someone new can come in and be like, hey, AI thumbnails, just only AI thumbnails is what we offer, right?
Yeah.
Not just thumbnail generator, but yeah, I think
The obvious thing to do
yeah,
here would be like thumbnails, but the slightly tougher thing, which is a product risk, would be can you have a tool that just makes better ad media,
yeah,
better
ad media
performing
I
ad
think
media?
is a little away, uh, because there is a lot of text in it.
Hmm.
So the thing is, in images, AI doesn't read text in an image.
Yeah.
It just doesn't understand. So when Stable Diffusion or DALI, they are going through this TBs of data out there, they are going through it pixel by pixel, and creating an algorithm. They are not going it to read text from it and understand what's the meaning of the text and all of those things.
Would have to probably be something, some other way to prompt it to make an image, right? It
Yeah,
could be,
so the
could
text
be,
part is something, it's like you're taking two different ideas and putting it together at the base of it. So uh, this is this is going to come out for sure, right? So you
yeah,
just need to figure out the text part separately, right, and put it in. And we've also kind of played around. We are in fact playing around with the text part already
yeah,
at Creatives. So Creatives is not just about e-commerce listing photos, but a lot of it is just about creatives for social media, right?
right.
You need a lot of photos to post, right? And you can't keep recycling your images. A lot of early stage startups just end up doing that. They like three photo shoots in like 6 months or 8 months, and then they keep reusing the photographs every other time, try to photoshop it in different backgrounds and then keep posting it again.
Yeah,
And with our tool, they just don't have to do that, right? It will create it in minutes. Like if the bag photo that I have, if I flick that bag once, I can take that same bag and put it in Athens. I can put it in probably London. I can put it in uh, a road, Indian road, or like a backpacking trip on a cliff, anywhere you want, right? So you have unlimited images with you now.
yeah,
So the creatives part, we are solving the image part for now. The text part we will solve later. But yeah, I think in a year or 2 years, what you are saying is very possible. There'll be startups doing it.
yeah. How about this? So I recently helped uh, someone publish a book. He's my
Hmm.
business mentor, and I worked with him for a few years before I came here. And I helped him publish his book. And one of the biggest things we noticed, challenges we noticed, was illustrations. We tried hiring someone, didn't really love what they did, and so we ended. He is a good illustrator himself, so the author himself ended up doing the sketches that we put in the
Yeah.
book. But then I got to think, and then I read a Twitter thread recently about a guy who built, like, who made a children's book from scratch. Like, he
Hmm.
just had a little bit of text. You know how children's books are, right? They're
Yeah.
90% images,
Yeah.
like colorful images. So
And the
that
text
guy
is
just
like
spent
very easy text.
very easy text, like 2 lines of text. So he had a rough draft ready, and he spent the weekend just making, putting in prompts
Hmm.
in Stable Diffusion, I think. And then he just completely used, like, took that repository of images, put it in
Hmm.
his Word document, put it on Amazon KDP and Kindle Publishing, published the book, got a manufacturer, made some physical copies, and
Yeah.
like within 5 days he was selling the book on Amazon, right?
Yeah.
And so I, from his thread, I understood that this is a great use case. He
Hmm.
probably spent like the weekend just making images, which was the most time consuming thing. And he
Yeah.
said that
It's
in
time
his thread,
consuming.
that
Yeah.
it's time consuming, you have to put in a load of prompts. But what if you could just make book illustrations easier by,
Yeah.
by this? I mean,
So
there
you
are
can. This is
thousands of books
exactly
made.
where, like I told you, this is where the idea started out initially with me and my cousin,
Yeah,
uh, where we were like, hey, we love comics, right? Batman and Superman, and we've been reading comic books as kids.
yeah,
So we were like, hey, why not use AI to create this? And I think that's what you are also talking about, where like I already have a platform for it in my mind, right? But it's just that tech is not that advanced yet. So we kind of shelved that idea for now, and we moved on to like a product photography where the tech is sort of there. We have to develop it more to what we want. Uh, but that's the fun part of developing things. But what you are saying is possible in say an year or 2 years, probably 2 years, where it will be like a very simple platform. Like at least what I have in my mind is like a simple platform where you create your characters first. That hey, this is this character, this is how it is. You can design those characters using AI prompts. Once you've designed your characters, you design your places or like a home, office, the few places where you will be having your stories around. You design those, and once those are designed, then you just go on and type in your stories. You can reference your characters, like, Shubhankar talking to Shubham on a meeting table, on a long meeting table, in a small or like a huge glass cabin.
Yeah,
And it will create that, because it knows who is Shubhankar, it knows who is Shubham, it knows it's a meeting room with certain kind of aesthetic that you have already put in for your
yeah,
office. So that platform is going to, change things. You just have to focus on, the actual story. And if you have the story, then you can just create those comics or illustrations very easily. I think it's quite doable.
yeah. What do you think of this? There are so many couples that get made, they get like special photographs taken,
Yeah,
um, or they'll just pay someone to make like a sketch of them, a illustration of them, like a
yeah.
special photograph, right? So, but then it is also quite easy to do, I would believe, with AI. Like if I were to just upload a photo, like a photograph,
Hmm.
um, and just say that convert this into a oil sketch, or
Okay.
and print it on a nice sheet of paper, or put it on a let's say in a frame and ship it to me.
Hmm.
Would that be something that's doable?
Yeah, yeah, it's
That
doable.
that's easier to do, technically speaking, and like like it would be such a, like, I know that there are lots of individual Instagram people on
Hmm.
Instagram that just offer this as a service. So they'll paint it over the weekend and send it to you.
Yeah, yeah.
But to get that same effect that that person is doing at, let's say, half the cost, wouldn't
AI
it
art
be a
is a
great
big
product?
issue right now. It's the people are crazy
I
over
know,
it.
I know, I know. There's a big controversy. But what if,
There's an
I
online
as the
protest
user,
happening.
what if I as the user, I myself am giving the image that you are making the art out of, right?
No, the problem is, whose art are you referencing to is the problem right now, which I think is not really a problem. I don't think there's a copyright issue at all, to say. But so what you are saying is quite doable. In fact, I have another idea already that have been thinking around. Initially was uh, basically all these pre-wedding photos and videos, right? People go crazy in India, right? During their marriages, they pay lakhs and lakhs of rupees just to get like that one video in which they are like doing basic things,
I know,
those photos where they're doing very basic
crazy.
things, right? And
Yeah.
the efforts that go into creating those
And
videos
and
is
I can sense the guy in you is like, what the hell are they doing?
yeah, I don't relate at all to it, but
Me
yeah, I mean,
neither.
imagine paying like a couple of lakh rupees just to run across a field and meet someone. And what if I
It
told you
blows my
that
mind. Yeah.
you pay me a couple of $1,000, like not 1,000 rupees, like couple of thousand rupees, and I can do the same thing with AI.
But dude, I think, like, yeah, a lot of people would agree with you. There would likely be a lot of men that would agree with you. But I
Because
think that,
they can pose.
yeah, but I think that also a lot of people are, they want to do it. It's fun to run across the field and get your photographs
Yeah,
taken, and there's
I don't know
not
why.
nearly as much. I mean, fine. I mean, I don't. I see what you mean. I mean, I would love it if, like, that could happen without me having to run across a field. But
Yeah,
like, if your partner wants to do it, they don't want to do it because they look good on a screen. That's
yeah.
part of it. But they
Hmm.
also want to go through the experience of someone
Yeah, I know
who's
what you're saying.
getting
So
ready, running across, and then that can't be replicated.
the emotions behind it, and that's the basic
Can
reason
I
why I didn't think
can
of
I
this
give you
idea
a can
ahead.
I give you a idea that's linked to this though? That's actually number 4 on my list.
Yeah.
So you know how everybody wants to look great on Instagram, everybody
Mm.
wants to look super sexy,
Mm-hmm.
everybody wants to show that we're having the best social life. We're going to meet so many different people, eating at the best places.
Yeah.
So what if you could
Mm.
have a tool that generates images for your social media,
Yeah.
but it doesn't, I mean, you're not physically there. Like,
You can
if
you can do that already.
So like if I wanted to show a photograph of myself in front of the Eiffel Tower, could I do that? Is there a tool
Yeah.
that already does that?
The thing is, it's not a platform, accessible platform in that sense. You'll have to know a couple of actual tools and sit with it, figure out things, and then
That's
do.
what I'm saying. Make it absolutely dummy proof.
Yeah. No, I have already a plan of creating a AI influencer. Um, so that's my backup plan in life. If I fail to do anything with this startup, I am just going to sit down with all the learnings I have and
Yeah,
create at least 100 micro influencer accounts using
right,
AI.
right.
And then I'm just going to earn through them.
What does that mean? How would you do that?
A micro influencer is probably someone who has like 10,000 to 50,000 followers, right?
Yeah,
I would create probably, let's start with 10. 100 is a lot. Let's start with 10. I can probably create 10 different women uh, models of specific nature, right?
right.
Probably one who is like conservative-ish, traditional-ish, one who is like in between a college-going kind of a girl, one who is like probably outlandish, supermodelish kind of a person, one who is like a health freak kind of a person, and I can create these different AI models and just run those accounts with a lot of pains, obviously behind to try to get to the perfect images every time. But yeah, I think I can easily run a micro influencer account then. Because what, like if you've seen social media,
No,
how
but
stupid it
then,
is.
but like when you say run a micro influencer account, what do you mean? Like you would create images and captions of them doing different stuff. Could you create like videos?
So videos is something that is coming out soon. There's a lot of development happening on it. I would do only images to start with, but I can do videos I can hack the videos, right? Like in Reels, you don't have to really go and dance every time.
Yeah,
Um, you have to just get the most trendy song out there, create a video out of a photo, probably collages, or just basic movements are possible with AI already. So you can probably do some basic stuff using images to create a video. Because I don't need to become like a huge blue tick influencer, right? I just need to get to like 10,000, and having a very pretty face is enough in India to get to 10,000.
dude, that sounds creepy. I must say.
As creepy as it sounds,
That,
social media
I
is
mean,
that way, right?
that
I mean, you'd find such useless micro influencers, right? These girls, they don't even understand social media well. They don't understand branding. They don't understand marketing, but they will ask you like a couple of thousand rupees to just make a post about your brand because they have a
but that's that's all, like a lot of social influence media influencers, not just limited to girls.
no, guys, it's you have to take a lot of efforts on content to become famous.
Come on, dude. That's
You
not true.
I would need to actually put myself out there with a girl. Like you start creating like guys and girls images and just start posting it on two different profiles, and you will
Yeah.
realize how easy is it to get likes on a girl's profile versus a guy's profile, right? uh, Also, if you have seen a lot of um, ads or a lot of these different ads, performative ads, performance marketing, and all of these things, it's usually girls that are used. Like at least in my last startup, I realized changing a guy to a girl made such a huge difference in our ad results. It was crazy. So it
That
works.
sounds like one of those like have you seen these Twitter threads? Controversial opinions
Yeah,
will
these are
that no
controversial
one
opinions. Yeah,
that
obviously.
people don't agree with you. Like what's an opinion that most people will disagree with you on? That
Yeah,
sounds like one of those, but also I don't know how to counter that because you clearly have the data to back it up, right? Like you have
yeah.
worked
You can
and
go
I
and
and I
find
have
this
read
guy
and I
easily.
think I've read what you like something similar to what you say that women's faces perform much better on social media ads than
Yeah.
men's faces. I think I might have,
Obviously,
but I'm not
there's a lot
super
of
educated.
Yeah, so obviously the use case wise, sometimes guys will be doing better off because of the use case and who is viewing it for, like probably a very health oriented gymming kind of a thing. You can't put like a girl in it. uh,
Yeah,
you'll have to use a guy who's actually gymming and doing that kind of stuff
but
to tell guys that hey, you can use this equipment this way probably. But in general, the girls would be getting more views than the guys, is how it
but
is.
but dude, you're still giving off Andrew Tate vibes with your I'll have an army of 10 influencer women who are making money for me. Yeah,
And
I don't know
the
if
funny
that's
part is
if
they
that's a
won't
look
even
you want.
exist. They won't even exist. So yeah, the
Doesn't
I mean,
matter.
he had to probably become a mafia and do things uh, the wrong way. We don't have to do that now. I mean, you can already. I mean, I don't know why OnlyFans is going to stop, right? Because there are already AI apps to create these kind of photos already. Like you can, like girls in America are actually making a basic living in college by selling feed pictures,
Yeah.
right? There are apps to just sell your feed pictures. I can create such beautiful feed using AI.
Dude, come on. There's got to be a better use case for AI, which is
No,
going to change the world than feed pics.
yeah. So
You,
this is
if
what
the
I'm saying.
brightest
That
minds of our entire world are working on generating AI feed pics, it doesn't speak well about the human race.
yeah, this is
Come
this
on.
is like the last resort for me. Like if the startup doesn't work out, I don't have a job. Oh, easy to live, easy money.
All right, I want to give you one last idea, right?
Yeah.
Uh, and if any of these work out in the future, feel free to give me 5% in royalties. What my idea is that you know how people set goals, and to
Yeah.
set goals they visualize goals. So
Mm.
if I am overweight and I want to lose 30 kilos by the end of the year, I will
Mm.
try and visualize, what I would look like. And so I'll look at a photo of a ripped guy and I'll be like, yeah, I'll look like that. So visualization is a proven tool that helps people, set goals, keep on track, stay motivated. So what if
Mm.
you could, help people look like tell them that, this is what you look like. So if
Yeah.
I am if I am 100 kilos right now, and if I wanted to see how I would look if I was at a healthy weight, let's say if I was 60 kilos and if
Mm.
I was ripped, what would I look like? If
Yeah.
you could help me, if I could just put in my photo and you could give me an output of this is what you would look like, and I just stick that on a wall and use that as motivation.
Yeah.
Do you think you could do that? What do you think?
Yeah. I think we can do that. In fact, there are a couple of more things to do in this. As you speaking, I'm trying to understand what else is possible, right? Uh, we can probably train a lot of data for for people, uh, the top bodies, like upper body pictures of humans, and we have to also get a lot of data from medical purposes. I'm trying to understand how it is possible. But if it is all done, the data part is sorted out. What I'm imagining is, say, I'll be taking a picture of myself every day, right? So I will take a picture. The AI will tell me not just what you are saying, right? That is obviously something that you can say. My goal is to probably lose 5 kilos or 10 kilos, and this 5 kilos in this month. That's a big goal, right? And 5 kilos in this month, and probably the AI will show me I should look like at the end of this month. I can show the comparison of progress. Hey, like you are reaching there or not reaching there, or you have been the same for a couple of you do it for a week or 2 weeks. 2 weeks down the line, you get uh, stagnant with your progress, right? You don't see those gains, and you don't see those losses actually if you're cutting down, but you don't see the losses as it was in the first week, second week. So I think it's a great way to motivate people. but you can also probably solve a lot of health issues over there, right? You can probably take pictures and just tell them about other things about their health. Is what I'm trying to understand if it's possible.
Yeah, there are so many like physical symptoms
Yeah,
of disease that you could just let AI could maybe just look at and say, all right, maybe you should get that checked. Let that
yeah,
mole on your body,
yeah.
maybe you should get that checked, or that
Yeah, there's
lump,
a whole
or tell you that that lump is
real.
probably benign, stuff
Yeah,
like
if
that.
you probably don't sleep well for a couple of days, you can easily see it on the face, right? Um,
Yeah,
like in real life, you can easily make it out by looking at
yeah,
someone. And a lot of people just live alone, and they have no one to tell tell them, right? You've
yeah,
not.
that's true.
So probably the app can do that too. Like, hey, what's up with your health side? Like sleep, stress, other markers that you can pick up from just images, right? Hemoglobin, probably not. Like you'll need probably better pictures of your hands, probably.
But dude, those are all like it might take you a while to build out those types of tools. But
Hmm?
I was trying to more think more on the lines of what can you make in the course of a month, let's
Yeah,
say, and
what you're saying is possible.
so like the motivation thing is so true, and just like charge me a couple of $100
Yeah,
and
yeah.
put it on Instagram and be like, and just get that cash flow going. It'll be so cool.
Yeah, you can do that. It's just that you'll have to work on fine tuning the model really well on
Mm.
different human bodies is where I see the challenge.
Yeah,
Because there'll be different categories of bodies, right? Like skinny kind of a thing, heavy build, rectangular kind of a person, or versus a square shaped person. So you'll have to figure out the image generation part for different bodies.
yeah,
But I think once that's solved, then yeah, I think it's quite doable.
cool. So anyway, I think we discussed like five AI use cases for generative AI. And so if any of the 29 subscribers to this podcast want to start a new business, let us know if you build
Yeah,
any of these ideas.
we'll take 5% equity.
5% royalty, because you got the ideas on this podcast.
Yeah. But man, the amount of opportunities out there right now are crazy. But it's like it's developing so fast. You never
I
know.
know.
In a few
It's so
months,
weird.
the opportunities might double themselves, right? Um, like
Yeah, it's like the wild, wild west right now.
yeah, it's old wild west. So the tools that I am building, we see that we are going to create a lot of opportunities for others as well. So it's like a whole domino effect over here.
Yeah, it's a chain. It's so fun to listen to these stories. I hope your tool really does well, and I would love to work with you in some capacity because AI is so fascinating. Really, it's so amazing, and what you're doing is so interesting.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, but I think I should
We
be
can
running
probably
now
do
because
another podcast later, after a couple of months, when which can be actually with the tool.
let's do it for sure. For sure, let's do it. And there's so much more that I wanted to talk to you about, but we've been going for almost 2 hours now, and
Oh,
I don't think I've covered even half of it. I mean, I said that we'll do it for just 1 hour, but it was so interesting. I'll have to run now, so
yeah,
we'll call it quits here. But thank you for coming on, Shubham.
yeah, it's fun. I'd love to
Is
come
there
again.
do you want to is there anything you want to say, like where can people follow Creatives? Are
Yeah,
you are you like sharing content on social media anywhere?
so I'm setting up the accounts right after, like tonight I'll be setting up the social media accounts and everything.
Yeah,
So everyone can access like our website at creativz.ai. It's creativz.ai.
right,
Uh, and we'll be launching the platform soon. So it will be on Product Hunt and a couple of other places is where we'll be putting it on.
right.
And yeah, I think even you can share it afterwards when we launch it, right?
Perfect.
And you can just play on it with couple of images that you have. But if you are like a D2C brand, or any person who is working in the media space, then it's going to be crazy, right? It's a game changer thing.
I absolutely agree with you. Even though I'm nowhere close to being that, as just an amateur who's done that, who's tried to upload stuff on Amazon, I know it's a pain. So it's a great use case.
In fact, drop shipping is also a great use case for us. Drop
Yeah,
shippers
yeah,
uh, use it to create content easily.
yeah, absolutely. In fact, you know what? Another random idea. But what if you could help like blog owners create images for their blogs? That again is a big, big thing.
It's possible, but then it will be deviating from products, so we won't do it.
Mm,
Yeah,
yeah,
the amount of possibilities is crazy, and that's why initially we were like, just
so many
focus,
things to do. Yeah,
just zone in, like just
yeah,
focus
yeah,
on products, what kind of products, what kind of startups, because there's so much to do. It's easy to like lose your way out.
yeah, that's true. Uh, anyway, cool. Thanks for coming on, Shubhu.
Yeah, it was fun, man.
This was fun. This was fun. And we'll do it again for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
All right.
See you later.
Chalo,
Bye
see
bye.
you.
Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.